Hi, welcome back to my channel. I literally feel like this video has been something that I've literally always believed in. So I feel like it's one of those moments where it just feels like the universe is coming together to speak this, because I've always felt it. But I think it's potentially... Okay, I don't think this has got me into harmful situations. I've been in harmful situations where this side of me was repressed and that was wrong. But it's so important that I feel and that I feel like lots of people should feel this way, that you shouldn't be agreeable. I've literally just come across a video talking about not why you shouldn't be agreeable. I think being agreeable, I think the fact of life is that some people are agreeable and some people aren't. And I'm being so raw and honest here because I've had that type of day, honestly. Some people are agreeable, some people aren't. Okay, some people are mean well and some people are very malicious and sort of troublemaking. And I think a lot of us have an aspect of causing trouble. Some of us have an aspect of, like, you know, mischieviousism, and I'm not doubting that, but the fact is I've just not got time for those people. I think we all probably have some level of it, and I think you have friends that kind of accept you for that, but people outside of that realm, like, I'm just like, I've got zero tolerance for people that outside of the situation I'm in don't sort of like take too much, because some people through that will sort of like expect too much, like basically a friendship status in a work environment, for example. Or I'm not saying you should be friendly to people at your work, and you might make friends at work naturally. Obviously you can't force these things, but at the same time, like, if you do make a friend at work, maybe you gain some privileges. I think you've got to earn privileges through, like, you know, whatever that means. But when people sort of try and take too much, for example, a manager being toxic, I've gone on about toxic managers so much, so I'm just going to leave that out. Being agreeable, it just doesn't get you anywhere. I think there's something about being social and getting along with people, but I think that comes naturally to some people and it doesn't come naturally to others. And the thing is, you can't control the unnaturally, you know, difficult. And for that reason, that's why I feel like being agreeable in some way, I think, is society trying to make up for the people that are disagreeable and just like rude and nasty and difficult, and just something that I don't need to fill my brain with, if that makes sense. So I feel like for me to get to that place, which I've kind of worked towards, but I think with my age, I'm just moving into my adulthood more, to be at the place where I think age brings lack of willingness to accept behaviour that you won't accept, and you're more careful about, you know, what you tolerate and what you don't. And I think that comes naturally with age. I think it's one thing getting triggered by someone, but you have to set boundaries with people. It's a well-known fact that people like narcissists will sometimes overstep boundaries. But the fact is, you need to set firm boundaries on what you're willing to tolerate anyway, because it means that you can then step in if those boundaries aren't being respected. And the fact is, people won't always respect your boundaries. I've watched videos about this, how people won't respect your boundaries, but it's about you have to somehow keep those boundaries where they are, even when people don't respect them, because not everyone will at the end of the day, and these are the type of antisocial people that I'm talking about. So being agreeable, I honestly think is, as I said, a societal concept to, you know, integrate those type of antisocial people and kind of balance out the playing field a bit. As much as I'm not getting level-headed in this, please don't be agreeable, because being agreeable blindly, I've heard, is a thing where people that are agreeable, they don't actually necessarily know what they want either. They don't. It's all about boundaries, learning what the middle ground is within your boundaries, as in like how far you're willing those boundaries to go. When people are trying to test you, that's their issue. At the end of the day, I'm not someone to say you should just try and take the high ground. No, I will bite back. I will fight at you. I will literally get to the point where I've been like literally physically ready to go for someone in the past, like recently, and that sounds really bad. I'm not saying you should just like attack everyone, but some people have no standards, and it's really just it's just an issue for people that are actually normal and they can actually go through life with a social attitude. So my thoughts are, don't be agreeable, know your standards, know your worth, know your boundaries within your standards. And then that way you know for sure when someone is going to overstep them. Due to the law of attraction, if you are firm in your boundaries, firm in your, you know, outlook, firm in your standards, I'm not saying that you don't have to interact. Some people have to, by default, interact with people they wouldn't want to do, and under normal circumstances they would not touch with a barge pole, and that is the honest truth. But the fact is that if you do have to do this, figure out whether that's a possibility that you might not have to. Is it someone that you have to tolerate? Is it a family member? Is it a friend of a family member? Don't get me wrong, I feel like there's always going to be that toxic person that comes along, that's, you know, a partner of a friend or whatever, that you might have to tolerate once in a while. That just is what comes with the territory of life, unfortunately. Especially narcissists, it's a well-known fact that they're a fucking pain in the ass for everyone that comes into contact with them. But the fact is, I'm very riled up right now, and that's something that I think is good, because it's getting my body wired towards being more assertive, being more sure of my boundaries, being less tolerant of things that are outside of my boundaries. Because the fact is, because luckily the system is structured so that generally you can only encounter people within the realm of what it's actually in, for example a work environment, there are rules and standards which would somewhat protect you. I think the rules and standards are a lot better, I feel like, over the last few years, but even so, there is still, especially in family environments and things that are more personal, there are definitely cracks in the system, not cracks in the system, but there's definitely ways that people can get around the boundaries. You don't have to physically assault someone for people to be rude. Sometimes verbally or, you know, passively or passive aggressively is actually a lot worse than being physically violent, and that's just the way it goes. But the way I see it, when I grow up, have kids, have a family, you know, I'm going to come across friends of my kids or people or teachers or something that's going to rub me up the wrong way. That's going to be not someone I would gel with, and not someone that I find it difficult to tolerate. Because that's something I've actually learned about myself, is that I'm very fiery, and I think I've always been this way. But in the last few years, I do have, my grandma was a redhead, and that's not something I can change. But the fact is, I need to step into that redhead power. I need to stand up for myself and my rights and step into my inner psychopath and my inner sociopath. Honestly, this is my advice. You have to utilize your strengths, because people are vile. Sometimes people are vile, and you need to stand up for what's right for you. Because as you grow up, I was lucky enough to have quite a protective family. I mean, almost to the point where they were helicoptering. But I didn't feel unsafe from the outside world in my family environment, and that is the honest truth. I don't think physically or verbally, emotionally, I felt safe and supported. And that's a feeling I grew up feeling good in, and that's a feeling I want to continue throughout my adulthood. You meet all sorts of people that grew up in all sorts of environments, something that I really don't care to dwell my brain in, because the older I get, the more I realise, and the more life I live, the more I realise that life is short. My brain has only got so much capacity, and people that are difficult need to fuck off. So I will step into my power to whatever way that happens. So if it means that I have to, you know, I think you've just got to do what you do within reason. I'm not saying necessarily that you should go around throwing kicks and punches at people, but the fact is, some people are vile, and it's not unseen. Obviously, in pubs and things, when people have had a bit of alcohol to induce them, I don't think you necessarily need alcohol, but the fact is, whatever you need to do to get people that are difficult and like wrong to fuck off, whatever you need to do, because if you don't do that, they will overstep your boundaries, and you gotta just like let them know who's fucking in charge of yourself. I'm not in charge of you, I'm in charge of myself and my own world. You can't control people around you, and this is the distinction, which is a clear distinction in my head. You can't control another person, nor would I want to. I'm not a control freak. But the fact is, you get up in my space, you get up in my irritation centres, you distract my brain for whatever reason, for reasons that I shouldn't have to be distracted over. It's something simple, such as a simple work task or a simple instruction which is due to me due to the position I am, for example being in that position in work, and you get in the way of that or cause some sort of personal issue because of some sort of personality related issue you have. That's something that would upset me, and that is something that I will not tolerate. And it's important to shut these things down straight away, because people will push your boundaries and push you until that's what people do. People that do have personality related issues, they push until they find out where your limit is. And something about me is that I've always been very patient, I think, and I think that's a good thing, because I have got redhead traits and I can get fired up quite quickly. But I think it's also about learning to go 0 to 180 in 5 seconds to shut a situation down, because I've always been very conscious, I think, subconsciously of that in my ego, to be very calm, because I knew that I was very fiery. But learning to go from 0 to 180, or, you know, whatever, 240 in a 10-second, you know, in a 5-second ratio, or 4-second, 2-second, whatever, you know what I mean, get riled up quickly to bring a situation straight back down. Because I've always thought my dad has a bit of a snap. I think you're not exactly like your parents, but for example, my dad's quite a snappy, short person. Sometimes when he needs to, he's quite forward, and you're like, okay, right, he's kind of a bit of a shock, you know what I mean? I've never liked that aspect of him, but I think I need to integrate that into myself. I'm one of those people where I'll go at you, like, I've realised if you wind me up, I'm happy to keep having a go at you until you comply, kind of thing. Like, and I will be nasty, and I will be loud, and I will be rude, and I will be verbally assaultive. I'll do what I need to do, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of people, if you're in a work environment, it's kind of different. If you're in a personal situation, I'll stand up for what I believe in, and the fact is, there's not a lot you can do to me. If you do, I'll stand up for myself. I'm not trying to start loads of arguments, but I will stand up for my rights, and I will stand up for what I believe in, and I will stand up for my peace, because it's not for you to come into my life and cause issues in my own life. Some people are just very odd, they're very strange, and that's not for me to worry about. I've got my own life, my own issues, and the way I see it, this is a natural part of growing up, but it's something that I will not change, and I will not forget, and I will not tolerate the range of people that are outside of my circle, or the people I have to / want to tolerate. If we have a bog standard relationship, I'm not taking it past that. Don't get personal with me, because I don't want to fucking know. I've got my own life to worry about. I don't care about you. I don't care about them. I don't care about anyone besides the people I care about. I'm not some sort of person that's here to cater to you. Some people, unfortunately, grow up in a very entitled place. They are just entitled by nature, and they expect everyone to put them all first. No, no, no. That's not the way it goes. I put myself first. I put people I care about first. Sorry if you didn't get the memo. That's the way it is. That's life. Sorry, goodbye. That's the way it is. This was very heated. I don't know whether it will be uploaded, but I will have to put the word rant in the title, because it was very charged, and I think that's okay. But the fact is, you just have to be unagreeable. Not unagreeable, but you don't have to be agreeable to people that are unagreeable. Be agreeable to people that you genuinely agree with, but don't be forced to be agreeable to people that are unagreeable. If that's not my issue. If you're unagreeable, I'll treat you unagreeable, because that's how you are. That's not my problem. If you want me to treat you agreeably, act agreeably. Don't walk around like a psycho loony and then get me to act agreeable to you, because that's not how it works. It's not going to work. You can hope for it all you want, it ain't going to happen. And I'll happily lay in however much is needed until changes are made. And the fact is, this is part of it. It's the amount of energy you choose to invest into a situation, because it's not for me to parent someone that is clearly like, and there's a level of the serenity prayer of accept what you can't change what you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. But this is the thing that I can change. I can change my attitude towards people that are difficult. And I think we do this throughout life, but lockdown has just caused a lot of different changes in different people. People haven't changed, but it's the fact of re-implementing those social boundaries for people that clearly have forgotten how to implement social boundaries, or whatever that means. Don't be agreeable, because be honest and truthful with how you feel. That's the only way you can go. And I'm not saying go every you know, decision that you make should not necessarily be feeling induced, because sometimes you will be able to hold your tongue, but I don't think there's anything wrong with voicing something that you feel strongly about, or you have a strong emotion towards, because someone has triggered you to feel that way. I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with it. Obviously, I'm going to mention People that are of the narcissistic persuasion, they will try and bait you. That is part of their personality disorder. And it's understandable that people have to tolerate them in society, and they don't want to. If I could get rid of them all, I would. But I can't. But to keep your own mental sanity, get angry when you need to get angry. I'd much rather get angry when I need to. Try and block out the rest of the shit. And keep my mental sanity to be able to see what's normal, rather than suppress all my rage and just not get very far with it. So get angry when you need to get angry, but set boundaries and keep them, and realise that people aren't going to respect your boundaries, but you should still set them anyway and keep them as structured as you can. For example, if that boundary is, this is my work, it's hard to say if you don't want someone to talk to you. If you would say, this is my work, I'm the manager, please get this task done by 10 o'clock. Completely reasonable task. If an employee has an issue with that, that's their problem. And you can take higher action if people are not complying and they are being so antisocial that it's going against the standard of what is required in that role, that God-given role. Because my idea is, when I've gone and had these thoughts in the past, I've said, I've done a whole video on who you should respect, why you should respect them from a biblical standpoint that I saw from a pastor. And he said, you should respect people's position. And I'm going with that. You don't have to respect someone's character. For example, if someone's position is a job role, or, you know, a family member or a friend of a friend, treat them as that. If they step out of that line, for example, if someone is a friend of a friend that is toxic that you don't like, but they start treating you in a way that a friend should tolerate, because they say friends keep their eyes shut in a relationship. Love is blind and friends keep their eyes shut. If someone's expecting you to keep their eyes shut, or God forbid they're a work colleague or something else and they start trying to make you keep your eyes shut, don't do it. They're not your friend. Make it completely abundantly clear you don't want anything to do with them. They have to be there because they have to be there for whatever reason. I don't want to keep my eyes shut. Do as you're required, and that's it. I don't want to know you. I never have. I wouldn't go near you with a barge pole. I think you're vile. But at the same time, the bare minimum requirements is all. You don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe anyone anything. If people take the piss, let them know where it's at. Because if you don't, they will continue to. And I'm sure everyone hits breaking point in a situation in a positive way, to the point where they're like, right, I'm not dealing with this anymore. It's very important. And I don't like getting this angry, because there's no reason that I should feel this angry when I've had a nice pleasant day. But the fact is, some people are genuinely vile, and there's no reason to have to tolerate it. And you can protect yourself, and God can protect you. And you can do what's right for you, and you don't have to have other people, you know, complying, because they won't. But anyway, I've said all I need to say. I'm going to watch this through and make sure it's not too ranty. But it will be ranty, and we all need a rant every now and again. So yeah, I do feel a lot better. Thanks for listening. Bye.